Hey guys, John here with Black Panther now just a couple of weeks away and opening on February 16th, and with CW launching their new superhero show, Black Lightning, a lot of people are celebrating the long-awaited start to diversification in our superhero movies and TV shows.
You know, when I hear people say something about diversification and all this nonsense, all I hear from John Campea is that he wants to virtue signal a lot to his audience. And he also forgets that people don't want to, which we're gonna get into later, but people want to see a good comic book movie and don't really care who is in the main role or what character it is really. There might be some people who have a preference to some character or another. But those are mostly comic book fans and not the most people watching these movies. So saying that people just want to watch these superhero movies just for diversity's sake is just plain wrong.
Yes, I know, it's not like there haven't been people of different genders and ethnicities in hero movies before, but we're now just getting our first major studio superhero movie with a legit black leading character. And before we get into it, let me just say, yes, I understand that me, a pasty white dude, trying to explain the importance of a black leading superhero character could potentially come across like me trying to explain the challenges Asian Americans face to my Filipino wife. The thing is, this is actually targeted at my fellow well-intentioned pasty white dudes who, for different reasons, just don't get why Black Panther is such a big deal to some people.
You know, the amount of condescension in this clip right here, it actually makes me angry. First of all, what he's saying is actually 100% bullshit, because Suicide Squad, even though they changed the race of the original character, Deadshot was played by Will Smith. Yeah. And we can go with other movies as well. Spawn, led by Michael J. White. Hancock, again, played by Will Smith. A black male superhero that was played many years ago. What about Catwoman, played by Halle Berry? You showed her as Storm, you didn't show her as Catwoman, even though that movie is shitty. That movie is around 15 years old now. Blade. Yeah, he had 3 movies, and even a television series, and he was led by a black male protagonist in those three movies by Wesley Snipes. Steel, Shaquille O'Neal in the 90s. So you are so full of shit, John Campea, that you are now defending a movie because it's by Disney. I'm gonna go into depth in another movie, but he's been shilling for Disney with Star Wars, and now also here with Black Panther, by virtue signaling and defending just this movie because it has a male protagonist and is somehow diverse. That is not a good argument, and you're not doing your journalistic duty as a journalist by being ethical, and you're actually shilling for a company instead of being critical of what the movie actually is, which is so wrong and unethical.
Take this email I recently got from, again, completely well-intentioned, and Tony, who writes, "Hey John, like most people, I'm really excited for Black Panther. However, I'm hearing people saying this movie is more important than others this year just because it's a black hero. To me, the race of a hero isn't important. Heroes are heroes regardless of color. In the modern world, shouldn't we be past this notion of color? Black Panther is awesome because he's awesome, not because he's black. What are your thoughts?"
This email is actually very reasonable, because the skin color of an actor or even the character should not matter at all, because the movie should stand on its own 2 feet and be good, not because it's filled some sort of diversity quota. And this letter is just good by itself, because there have been many many movies that have been led by black or male or female actors throughout the decades, and now we're in 2018, and now it's suddenly important because there's a black superhero. And I just listed off all the other movies that had a black protagonist, and there are even some more obscure ones. But you had a Beverly Hills Cop in the 1980s, which was very popular. So he wasn't really a superhero in those movies. But I mean, come on, how is this unreasonable? But John Campea, of course, is gonna twist this and be condescending as hell to this guy, and I'm gonna show you right here.
I think it's important to point out that Antoni represents most pasty white dudes that email me about this topic, and believe me, I get a lot of them. Totally well-intentioned, and totally just as open to black leading superhero films as white ones, as long as they're good. Here's the problem though. It is so easy for me and my pasty white brethren to simply just sit back and say, yeah, hero's color doesn't matter, when up until this point, every single major studio superhero film has been us, the pasty white dudes.
So what you're saying is, it is more important for some race to be somehow in movies than others. I mean, are you really saying that black people are that superficial that they need to see themselves portrayed in a movie to feel somehow good with themselves? I mean, talk about soft bigotry of low expectation. Are you really saying that? Because you're, first of all, contradicting yourself, because you showed in this video that there have been black male and female characters that have been portrayed in movies before, but that somehow wasn't good enough. And even with Blade, which was 20 years ago almost, who was in a movie, and now it's suddenly important because Disney is making it. You're so full of lies right now. It's actually very disgusting to use the phrase pasty or pasty white dudes as a phrase. It's so condescending to your own audience and just an entire race, because you want to virtue signal to a certain race because you think this movie is so goddamn important.
I mean, it doesn't matter if you're talking about Ant-Man, Arrow, Batman, Doctor Strange, Captain America, Flash, the other Flash, Hawkeye, Hulk, Iron Man, Spider-Man, Star-Lord, Superman, Thor, Logan, Deadpool, or even Winter Soldier, who does have a movie named after him. It's all us. They're all pasty white dudes. So yeah, you may be well-intentioned enough when you say to somebody that the color of a superhero doesn't really matter, but you've got to understand that you're coming across like a multimillionaire telling some average dude struggling to pay his bills that money isn't everything.
Again, the condescension here is so real, because why is nobody in China, in Bollywood, or in like African movies advocating for the same thing? It's only people like you, SJWs, like John Campea, that is advocating for these type of movies, because they have to have some sort of diversity quota of women and minorities in movies. And just screw if the movie is good or not, because that doesn't matter. The main point is they should have some sort of minority lead, because that makes a movie good in itself. That is so, and also the insult that, the white people saying that they just want a good movie, they're somehow a millionaire, like looking down, basically punching down. That is just so that is horse crap. Like, I just get so angry when I see people like this on their pedestal preaching on to everyone else what they should like and what they should feel about and have some sort of opinion of movies. And it's just disgusting to see. And all the movies he mentioned, Doctor Strange has basically mostly minorities in that movie, but he doesn't mention that. On all the other movies that I mentioned, he doesn't mention those because it doesn't fit his narrative. And most of those big movies have minority backup leads and and side characters that are important to the story. But screw that, because narrative.
Sure, the millionaire meant well, but you'd kind of want to punch him in his $1 million face if he said that to you. As human beings, we value things that we can associate with. As an Italian, I would get really excited to see former MMA fighter Alicio Sicaro fight on a UFC card. He's Italian. I'm Italian. There's pride in that comes along with seeing somebody of your heritage, which is hard to explain. There's a sense of, wow, somebody from my heritage is doing this great thing. Maybe I can too. Does that sound silly to you? Well, consider this other email that I recently got from one of my other viewers named Chanae Taylor, who wrote to me this. John, do you believe people understand the magnitude of Black Panther? I, a black woman, have loved comic books, but how many heroes can I cosplay as? The fact that I will have characters that have my hair and skin is amazing. I can cosplay with my looks and feel valued. Also, I know some people hate Iris from The Flash, but it's the first time that I could see myself as the love interest of a superhero. I want people to understand what this means to me and my little girls.
You know, your comparison to the UFC is actually a very fitting one, because it works actually against you. So you want someone to represent you in UFC just because they're Italian and have the same background. Don't you see how tribalistic that is? Don't you? And also, UFC is perhaps the most the best representation of meritocracy that there is. Sport in itself is the best meritocracy. So, do you want, because there is an underrepresentation of, say, white people in the UFC, they should be in the UFC just because of that? Are you kidding me? It just works so against your own argument, because you want actually the opposite, which is the quality of outcome, not the quality of opportunity. And and you're reading also this letter where this woman, apparently woman, is saying that Iris, who is actually not black in the comics, who is a redhead, she needs someone to identify with because they have the same hair. Why don't you watch X-Men from the early 2000s? They have someone in Storm which they can identify with. Jesus Christ. They are so... I mean... It's baffling to me that they need this just because Black Panther is coming out, and they want to identify with someone. I mean, there are plenty of role models in any other venue, but they need someone in the superhero genre to represent them. I find this someone weak-willed and I mean, do you really need someone to identify with as a grown woman? And using Iris as your argument, it just shows how weak it is. You could have used Storm. I would have actually understood that, but you're not even as you say you're not even interested in superheroes, because you would have known that Storm is actually one of the strongest X-Men there is, and she could see herself as the love interest of a superhero. Really? I would love to be someone like Goku or Superman, but that's never going to happen, because I don't identify myself with some alien dude that looks like me but is totally different. These people need fantasy to back up their weak self-confidence, and I just hate to see this. And he uses this as political points in this clip, and I just think it's disgusting.
So yes, we need to understand that it's simple for us to say the color of a superhero doesn't matter. Simple because almost every single major superhero movie we've ever seen looks like us. It's a whole different story for somebody who doesn't get to see themselves or their heritage represented very often in the movies that they love. Chadwick Boseman, who plays Black Panther, was asked why black heroes are important, and he said this: "We want to be able to tap into an ability that we have that is almost supernatural, or it is supernatural. So we live through the superhero. So for a black kid to never see a black superhero, in a sense, is an obstacle that cannot be conquered, things that cannot be conquered in their lives. I think it also frees everybody else up who has only seen characters that are superheroes of a certain color. When you can see somebody that is of color, Latino, Asian, African, when you can see that, it frees you from that boundary as well. So it's exciting to me to see kids of all races see Black Panther because it's a freeing process for everybody. Look,
I want to jump onto that last phrase Chadwick Boseman said, which he read up. It's a freeing process for everyone. I mean, tell that to Marvel, who are in the basically struggling because all of their so-called diversity comic books, which are not selling well at all. And if you have such a problem with these superheroes not being portrayed on film, there are plenty of comic book characters which you can buy a comic of and read them, and you could actually show some interest and give your money or vote with your wallet and say you want to see these type of heroes. And if Cyborg, even it was just in November, Cyborg was one of the major characters in Justice League, and somehow that didn't matter at all. I mean, if you're, again, going back to the argument, if you really want to identify with someone of your own skin color and they're not being portrayed on film, you can watch the animations, you can read the comic books, or even watch the comic book film that actually has them. But you're so willfully ignorant because there are so many of them out there. But because this is Black Panther and Disney, you want to advocate and defend this type of movie. I haven't seen it yet. It might be awesome, but this just shilling on a whole another scale is just disgusting to see from a journalist.
The bottom line is this. While it is fine for my fellow PWDs, it's pasty white dudes, to say that the color of a superhero shouldn't matter, the fact is, at this period in our history, to a large group of people who aren't PWDs, it does matter. It matters symbolically, it matters practically, and it matters deeply. And maybe if we, just for a moment, can step outside of the spoiled state we've been in, having nearly every superhero look and sound just like us, and appreciate just how special and important it is for somebody to see that on the big screen for themselves, maybe for the first time, if we can really appreciate that, then maybe, as Chadwick Boseman said, it'll be a freeing experience for all of us.
So with that statement, it actually shows that he has so low expectations of people that why not just enjoy a movie, a superhero movie, which are supposed to be fun and silly, and maybe even introduce some themes which make you think about stuff. But instead, he actually advocates for tribalism, and that skin color matters so much. If you think about skin color in movies all the time, I mean, these people who are in Hollywood are so out of touch with what most people want. Why do you think the ticket sales are going down? Because people don't want this nonsense. Again, this doesn't apply to this movie, but I'm talking about John Campea, who is advocating for this stuff. And people don't want this stuff in movies. And when he's basically projecting and basically talking on behalf of everyone who wants to see a good movie and saying, oh, poor little thing, and being so condescending, and he's so more on the moral high ground and intellectually superior to everyone else, just because he gets to go free to these movie premieres and get to talk down to us who actually pay for the fucking movie. Sorry for the swearing, but I get really freaking angry when this kind of condescension comes from the people who get everything for free. He even takes his wife he took his wife to the premiere of this movie. So he doesn't get to tell me anything. I'm going to include a clip just here at the end to actually prove the point or the claim I was making. And thank you guys for watching, and just enjoy this last little bit here.
We're walking down the carpet now. We're here, actually at the event. Walking down, got our credentials. We're going into the Dolby Theater. Walking down. Lots of excitement. Lots of people very happy and excited. There's a great
Hi folks, you're more than welcome
Look
to
at that.
take a quick photo, but please move all the way to the walkway.
You're gonna have to take the pictures because I'm taking video. So anyway, here we are now. For most of like Marvel's carpets, they do special kind of themes for the design. So as you see, we got a big Black Panther. It's like the entrance to a cave for us to get in here. So that's good. They want us to keep moving, so we're not holding up the line. So that's